Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In the last video, we learned about how to create a React app and explode its directory structure. So today we are going to dive into the heart of React, that are the components. And components are what make React so powerful. So let's understand about React components. In the last video, we had created this project and I said that this app is nothing but an small component which is displayed on our application. So in this video, we are going to see what are those components, what are the types of components, and how we can create a new component inside our app. So let's get started. So this is the React's official documentation site. It is React dev/learn. I will paste the link in the comment section. You can go and check it out. So what if I say that everything you see here is divided into small parts? So let's say this header that we see here, the top part is nothing but a header component or the header part. The left navigation or the left side navigation bar that we see here is nothing but the left side navigation component. The main section that we see here is the content area component. And the right navigation thing that we see here is the right navigation components. Let's assume, or there is no need to assume because it is what I said. Everything that you see here is made up of components that are put together by our React browser or the web browser. Okay, so here I had just added a screenshot, and the red thing is one separate component, the blue thing is one separate component, the yellow thing is one separate component. So in a simple term, the component is like a reusable building block in React, just like how car is built from the smaller parts, engine, wheels, seats, and these things are then combined to make a single bike. Okay. In a similar way, inside React application, everything is built from smaller components, such as this nav bar that we had seen here, then the button, then the card, then the footer, everything. And these components are placed together so that we can see the whole complete website. In the left side, in the image, you can see that the blue color is one component, the green is another component, the red is another component, and these lines are another component. And in the website, this blue component is used here. The green components are used for the 4 times. It means that if we create one component of this green thing, we can use it at multiple places or multiple times. We don't need to write same code again and again, which helps to reuse the same piece of code again and again. Same for the blue one and same for these lines. So in simpler term, React components are the reusable components that we can use in our application at multiple places. We can write a button component and we can use it at multiple places. Okay. So this was all about the React components. Now there are two types of React components. First one is the functional component. Write it here, which are widely used. And the another one is class-based component, which is barely used. Now, to understand it, we will try creating one functional component and one class-based component. And we will see how they render inside our browser. So for now, I had just started the web browser using that npm start command, which we had seen in the last video. And if you go to the browser, this is our site running. Okay, I will remove the unwanted code that we don't require. Now, if we go to our website, we can see a blank page. Okay. As I said, that this app is nothing but a component. Okay. It have a class name called as app, and in index.js file, which is our main JS file, we had imported that app component. Okay. From that app file. And that app component is placed into a division which have an ID as root, which is present inside the public folder index.html. Now this file we can see inside our browser. So how we can say it? Just go to our browser where our site is running, just left click, and here you can see the inspect tab. Once you click on the inspect tab, in the elements section, you can see there is the HTML file, which is same as the Visual Studio index.html file. And inside that, there is one division which have an ID as root, but the content inside have a div with a class name as app, which is nothing but this app.js file. And this, what we have returned from this app component. Okay. And that thing is placed here. And inside it, there is nothing. That's why it's showing blank. Now let's try to add something here. Let's say if I add one heading, welcome, it automatically compiles the code. And if you go to the browser, we can see welcome appears here. Now, if we try to expand this app class, we can see welcome is there, which we had written here. Okay, so in simple word, this is a component which returns this piece of code. This component can be imported anywhere inside our application. Let's say we had imported it in the index.js file. So while compilation, that component will be replaced by the code that is present here, that is returned here. So in our case, we had returned a div and a heading, and that piece of code will be put inside that main division, which have an ID as a root, which is inside the index.html file. So you can see it here. The H1 appears and it is displayed here. Now we will try creating a simple functional component. Okay. So I will say the welcome functional component dot js. So we had created a new file. Just ignore this all these files. We don't require it, or else I can delete these files. It's I delete setup test web report vitals. This logo. Okay, this app.test.js. The only thing you need to do is in the index.js file, just remove their inputs. Okay. Now our direct structure is clean. So we had created a new functional component here. The first thing we need to do is to import the React. Once the React is imported, the functional component can be returned in the form of function. So we need to create a new function. Then we can name uh, the component just like the welcome functional. In short, we had just returned a function. Now this function will return a piece of code. So for that, we need to add return statement. And that return statement will contain the code. Okay. So for now, we are going to return a simple heading which says welcome functional component. Okay. Once the functional component is created, we need to export it. So why we need to export it? Because we need to use it inside other files. So keeping it in this file will not work because we will not be able to import it into another files. So for that, we need to export this function from this file. So for that, write export default, sorry, and the name of the component. So we had exported the component here. So if we go to the app.js file and below the h1 tag, if we call the welcome functional component, if we hit enter, then you can see the file will be automatically imported from the desired location. And now if we go to our browser, you can see the content inside that functional component is pasted here, welcome functional component. And if we go to the inspect element tab, here you can see one h1 is added, which means that this while compilation, this component is replaced by the code that is returned inside this function. So in this way, the React works. It takes all the code that are returned by these components and place it at a single location while compilation. Okay. Now there is another thing which we need to understand is that we had returned here, but we cannot return two elements or more than one element from a single function. Let's say if I write h1 again, then it will throw me an error which will say that JSX expression must have one parent element. Now, what is the JSX? JSX is nothing that we can see here that we had created a function which is the JavaScript and also added the HTML. That's why it is named as JSX. So we can rename our file as JSX if we want. Okay. So to fix this error, there are multiple ways, but the way that I will recommend is simply wrap them inside div. So inside div, as there can be multiple components, so we can directly paste them inside div. Okay. So this single div will return two files. If we go to our website, okay, we had not closed, I guess. It's that app.js file. Oh, the problem is with this thing. If we are using the single JS file, then it will work. Okay. If we go to the website, then we can see the functional component appears here. Now, if we go to the code editor again and remove this div and keep it as empty fragments, these are called as the fragments, then also it will work. It will behave same as the empty div. So you can write anything that you want here. Okay. So this was all about the functional component, which is widely used by the recent developers. And the other thing is the class-based components. For that, we will create another file, welcome class component. .js. To write the class-based component, the first thing we need to do is to import the React, which is the mandatory step. Now, once React is imported, we need to create a class. Let's say welcome class component, which we need to extend, which will be extended from the component thing, which will extend the component class, which will be imported from React. And there, as in the functional component, we were returning the code. Here, there is some different thing, like we need to use the render thing. We need to wrap the return statement inside render. So this render will return the h1. how we will return H2. This is welcome class component. Okay. The same thing, we need to export this component. And once we export it, we can safely use it inside anything, inside any file. So welcome class component. Okay. Now if we look at our browser, we can see the class component has appeared here. So these are the two types of component that are used while creating the components, and everything inside React application is a component. So for example, if we want to design a login page, then we will create a login.js file, and inside that we will write all the code for the login, which will have an input field, which will be input component. Then there will be a login button, which will be a login button component, everything. So in this way, the components are used, which makes the React structure more modular and easy to maintain and scalable. It also helps to reuse the same component again and again. Let's say if I want to use the welcome class component in the index.js file, I can use it. Only thing I need to do is to import it. So if I go to the browser, you can see it has appeared twice, and I don't really need to write the same code again and again. I can directly call this component and it will be, the code will be placed here. So we had used this component twice by writing it in a single component. Okay. So this is the beauty of the components. We can write it once and use it anywhere we want. So this was all about the React components, and we had seen the types of React components. The next video we will go deep into the props in React. So props are nothing but if I want to pass any content inside this component, then how we can do it. So we can pass the content with the help of the props. So in the next video we'll see about props, and we'll try to pass the data from one component to another. And I will also create a blog and paste the link inside the comment section about the React components. So you can check it out if you want. So let's meet in the next video.